Welcome back, everybody, to Talking Horses with me, Horse Racing Rich. As always, we are brought to you by MaxActionSports.com, home of the internet's only money-back guarantee. Well, we're back for the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky Derby 150, the 150th running for the Roses. And this year we have what we consider to be a really interesting race. There are two dominant favorites in Fierceness and Sierra Leone. And then we have 15 of the remaining 18 entrants, all at 20 to 1 or higher. So this race could shape up a number of ways, and we are chomping at the bit to see how it does. Now, for those of you who've been with us, thank you for following us again. And you know the deal. For those of you who are new, what we're going to do is run through all 20 entrants. We're then going to give you the winner, and then we're going to tell you the best way to make money betting it. So without further ado, let's get to the horses. Number 1, Donac, 20 to 1. Ridden by Luis Saez, who unbelievably has not won a Kentucky Derby, and you got to figure is going to win one of these days. Unfortunately, it's not going to be this year. As you know, the Rail has not produced a winner since 1986 in the Great Ferdinand. This horse is not anywhere near the caliber of that, and even if he was in a better slot, probably would not be a contender. 2, Sierra Leone, 3 to 1, trained by Chad Brown and ridden by Tyler Gaffalione. Two better connections you're not going to find. These are two guys who are going to have Kentucky Derby titles in their history, and it might happen this year. Sierra Leone is a heck of a horse. He closed into a badly tiring field in the Bluegrass and took them all right down. His best race was probably the Risen Star, where he beat Track Phantom. And he beat the eventual Louisiana Derby champ, Catching Freedom. Now, a couple things you don't like. You don't like the short price. 3 to 1 is low. That's usually reserved for really dominant, 2-year-old champions. You also don't like that he's in the 2. No horse from inside the 3 has won since Real Quiet in 1998. And you don't love that he skipped the Louisiana Derby and opted for more rest when he went to the Louisiana Derby, went to the Bluegrass Stakes. So this is a shorter rest than he obviously would like. This is bad odds, and this is a bad draw. All things you don't love about a horse that you do love. 3, Mystic Dan, 20 to 1, trained by Kenny McPeek, ridden by Brian Hernandez Jr. Look, he won a great race in the Southwest, then he ran a poor third in the Arkansas Derby. To me, he's a total pass, despite the enormous respect we have for Kenny McPeek and what he's able to achieve with the horses that he gets. 4, Catching Freedom, 8 to 1, Brad Cox and Flavien Prat. We're going to call this the Asterisk Connection horse. All you diehard fans know exactly what we're talking about. Flavien Prat won on Country House in 2019 when Maximum Security was DQ'd, and then Brad Cox won in 2021 when Medina Spirit was taken down due to a drug test, and Mandaloun was installed 9 months later. As for Catching Freedom himself, the actual horse, he's a hell of a horse, and he ran a hell of a race in the Louisiana Derby. He closed, 7 wide, and then torched everyone down the stretch and won. I mean, he won by a clear length over Anna Marie, who rode his coattails the whole way through. He's a really good horse. Unfortunately, Louisiana Derby hasn't produced a winner in 27 years. I think that's more happenstance than it is anything else. Louisiana Derby winners have run well in the Derby. They just haven't won it. Revolutionary comes to mind. So we'll see. That stat, I think, is merely a stat. I don't think it's really a predictor of anything too important. Number 5, Catalytic, 30 to 1, Saffie Josephs Jr. and Jose Ortiz's entry. He's in by virtue of a second in the Florida Derby, which Fierceness, blitzed the field on. Now, Julien Laperoux was aboard the day, and he was smart enough to stay back. He didn't try to catch Fierceness. He didn't go with him. And he gobbled up a second. He got this horse and this owner into the Kentucky Derby, and, that's about as good as it's going to get for Catalytic. 6, Just Steel, 20 to 1, D. Wayne Lukas and Keith Asmussen. He ran away from the field for a strong second in the Arkansas Derby. Lukas always brings really tough charging horses in the Derby, and they usually do okay. Unfortunately, this Hall of Fame jockey, this icon of the sport, hasn't had a winner since Living La Vida Loca was number one in the on the charts. Okay, and that was in 1999. Number 7, Honor Marie, 20-1. Closed with Catching Freedom. Was clearly second best that day. So if you like the deep closer, I mean, why wouldn't you like Catching Freedom over Honor Marie? He's not a horse to toss. He's a horse to think about. He's a horse to use underneath. Real deal, but I think on the back end, the lower end of the closers in this field. 8, Just a Touch, 10-1. Brad Cox and Florent Geroux. This horse wanted no part of 9 furlongs in the Bluegrass Stakes. I can't imagine him on any part of 10 and a 20-horse field. Number 10, T.O. Password, 30-1, in via the Japanese route. Only 2 lifetime races, both stellar wins. That's hardly the foundation you want out of a Kentucky Derby champion. And really the inexperience tends to show up more with the crowded field. The 20-horse field, how's that horse going to handle it? Total unknown. He is trained by Daisuke Takayagi and ridden by jockey Kazushi Kimura. Number 11, Forever Young, 10-1. Crushed the field in the UAE Derby. Is a perfect 5 for 5. Okay, in his career. This is a Japanese phenom. This is a horse that you are ecstatic to be excited about. He could be the first horse from Japan to ever win the Kentucky Derby. That is this level of horse. Now, of course, it's difficult to know how he's going to respond. From Japan to Dubai and now to America, that is a lot of travel, and that is a hard thing for a horse to handle that is 4 or 5 years old, let alone 3 years old. The Japanese horses are getting better in the Derby. Last year was the highest finish ever by a Japanese horse who happened to also win the UAE Derby, and that was Derma Sotokake. Forever Young is trained by Yoshito Yahagi and ridden by Ryushi Sakai. Number 12, Track Phantom, 20-1. Mr. O for 25, Steve Asmussen and Joel Rosario team up. Now, Joel won with Awe back in the day. Look, this is a precocious horse. He is well documented to have terrible behavior in the paddock and in the gate. In fact, in his last race in the Louisiana Derby, he was lucky to evade injury when he broke through the gate. He's going to be scratched if he does that on Derby Day because the vets are not going to take a chance. On the Louisiana Derby, do things a little different down there. He was able to run, and he ran a third and was tiring badly at the end, but he expended so much energy. It was almost impressive that he even finished third. Now, this is a horse that if he does not act up, he is a real major threat to win this race. But I believe it's a little bit of hopeful thinking to think that he won't act up with 200,000 people, DJs and music and 20 other horses. I mean, this is a calm horse is going to act up, let alone one that has a history of acting up. 13, West Saratoga, 50-1. As radio legend Mike Francesa would call him, he is a compiler. Okay, a compiler. He's in by a bunch of seconds and a couple bad thirds. I don't know if anything can help this horse, let alone Jesus Acostana riding him can. 14, Endlessly, 30-1. He ran an absolute tremendous race in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Now, the Jeff Ruby Stakes is not the Florida Derby. It is not, the Santa Anita Derby. It is the Jeff Ruby. But you cannot downplay how visually impressive this race was. He navigated through traffic on the final turn. It was a 13-horse field. Okay, this wasn't a 7-horse field. 13-horse field. He navigates through traffic, and then he pulls clear down the stretch like he didn't just bump and grind with a bunch of other horses. Endlessly and Umberto Rispoli are not household names, but they might be after Saturday. 15, Domestic Product, 30-1. Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz. Irad, unbelievably, has never even hit the board in a Kentucky Derby. That's got to change. He's too good a jockey. I know some people from my home state, New York, would say, well, maybe because he can't do the antics that he does. New York and get away with them in Kentucky. And there might be some sour grapes on some people's opinions there. But domestic product, look, he won the Tampa Bay Derby, which again is a lower prep race, but it usually produces pretty good, Derby runners. Tacitus famously won there in 2019. He finished third in the Derby, and you had two seventh-place finishers very recently. In Tapitrice last year, and in 2021, you had Helium finish seventh. Now, seventh ain't great, but they're not embarrassing finishes either. 16, Grand Mo the First, 50 to 1. Nope. 17, Fierceness, 5 to 2. Be surprised if he's 5 to 2 come post time with the amount of hype this horse has. There's a train moving behind him like we haven't seen in a long time. It is probably because, and not even probably, it is the Mike Rapoli, Todd Pletcher connections that got unfortunately scratched last year with Forte. Todd Pletcher has won 2 Kentucky Derbies. Johnny Velasquez has won 2 of the last 7. They teamed up together in 2017 on Always Dreaming. Fierceness, for those of you who don't know, blew away the field in the Florida Derby in dominant fashion. This was not a good race. This was not a great race. This was an all-time performance. In fact, it was the fastest time since, yep, you guessed it, 2017, when Always Dreaming, eventual Kentucky Derby champion, put in a faster time. But for all that praise and all that he deserves, and even more, 5 to 2 is a short price, man, for a horse that has not put back-to-back races together. 5 to 2 is what American Pharoah, what Justified, what Forte, who was last year. Fierceness doesn't have that kind of resume. He certainly has that kind of talent. We saw it once. Be interested to see if we see it again. He is a 2-year-old champ, and 26% of 2-year-old champs have won the Derby in 150 years. That's a good clip, right? 18, Stronghold, 20 to 1. He is by far getting the least amount of respect I've ever seen a Santa Anita Derby winner get. I'm not young, I'm not old, but I'm old enough to remember when the Santa Anita Derby used to just be installed as the Kentucky morning line favorite. And he's 20 to 1. He's not 10 to 1. He's not 12 to 1. He's 20 to 1 on a horse that ran a really impressive race against a good field and won. Now, yeah, it was, him and Imagination had a stretch duel, and that takes a lot out of a horse, and it's a short turnaround, and I get all that. But, I mean, he is much better than 20 to 1. We'll see if it holds up. We'll see how he handles it. Whether he finishes, 20th or 1st, this line, it does not make a whole ton of sense. As Lee Corso famously, says, every Saturday during the fall, somebody knows something, and I'm going with the somebodies. 19, Resilience, 20 to 1. Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. Bill Mott has one win, it's the DQ win, whatever. Junior Alvarado is raced in 3 derbies, and he finished 4th in 2016, which, you might be able to scoff at, except Irad's never done that, right? So Junior's a good jock. Look, he had a clean trip in the Wood, pretty much a dream trip. He overcame being 3 wide, which for a closer isn't bad. He was 5-6 off the lead. He was a bit undisciplined down the stretch, drifted out to the center of the track. You're not going to do that and win at Churchill. And he's never put 2 good races together. So, he's a good horse. We'll see. 20, Society Man, 50 to 1. Look, those odds are a little high. He's virtually a carbon copy of Resilience, ran the same race as Resilience in the Wood, obviously lost to Resilience in the Wood. The thing I would say separates these 2 horses is the Society Man doesn't have the top speed that Resilience does. Society Man, a more disciplined race in the Wood, ran a cleaner race and still wasn't able to gain on him at all. So he probably just doesn't have that high-end speed. You're looking at a grade 3, grade 2, maybe level horse in Society Man. And then 21, Epic Ride at 50 to 1. He's also eligible. Look, Rich Strike shocked the world 2 years ago when he won as an also eligible, so nothing is impossible. I wouldn't say it's probable, I wouldn't say it's likely, I wouldn't say it's any of those words, but it's certainly not impossible because we've seen it before. So those are 20 horses. Good, interesting field, really, I think. I mean, talking about it, you get more and more excited as you go through the PPs and you go through their histories and you see what these horses are capable of. So who's going to win? Well, last year we talked about the chaos, and the Derby has been complete chaos. But what would you expect from 23-year-olds, right? Every year, we've had DQs, we've had scratches. We've already had one scratch this year. Hopefully, we don't have any. Everyone has a safe trip. Uh, but we embraced the chaos last year, and we picked Mandarin Hero, and he turned out to be a zero. He lost by 20 and a half lengths to Mage, who was still a little salty that we didn't pick, considering how much we love Javier Castellano, 15-1. Man, it would have been a nice hit. But we made our picks, and we got to stick with them. And actually, we had to pick twice because, as you know, we picked Practical Move to win first, and he scratched, and it was all over the place. So, in our estimation, this year is completely wide open. Yes, I get it. Fierceness looked completely unbeatable in the Florida Derby. But he lost 6 weeks earlier in the Holy Bull and did not look anywhere near what he looked that day. And yes, Forever Young is a Japanese phenom, the likes of which we haven't seen since, save that of a certain MLB superstar with a very hard luck translator. And yes, Sierra Leone has connections of Chad Brown and Tyler Gaffalione, who will win a Kentucky Derby sooner rather than later. So why not this year on a very good horse in a very wide open field? But no, none of those three are going to win. This year's winner of the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby will be none other than Catching Freedom at number 4. So how are we going to make money doing it? Well, with 8-1, shouldn't be too difficult. We're going to put 25% of our bankroll on Catching Freedom to win. And then we're going to let it ride. And perfectly honest, this has been a tough pick for me because Track Phantom is such a good horse. And if I wasn't worried about how he's going to act and the energy he's going to expend prior to the race, I think he wins. I think he's such a good horse, but I just don't believe that he's going to be able to keep himself under control. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to win that on the back end with a couple win place show bets on Track Phantom. We're also going to put a smaller one on Stronghold, and we're going to put another one on Endlessly, who we didn't talk a ton about, but Endlessly is a really good horse who we think can shock the world. Is certainly be a contender in this race. Then we're going to do a couple large exacta boxes. One with just 2 horses, just Catching Freedom and Track Phantom is one. And then the other we're going to do Catching Freedom and Forever Young, the Japanese horse. Because if he hangs in there, he's the real deal too. We're also going to do a decent sized try box with Catching Freedom, Track Phantom, and Forever Young. And we're going to do a small, very high odd try box with Stronghold, Endlessly, and Track Phantom. And then we're going to put decent sized show bets, decent sizes, whatever you consider decent sizes for you, on Forever Young and on Honor Marie, who we think will be able to close and might pick up something at the end there. One word of caution with Track Phantom: watch him. Okay, have a bet in your Naira account. I know I'm going to have mine, or Twin Spires, whatever you use. Have it sitting there. Don't press enter until the very last second, because if he's in that gate and he's calm and he's not sweating, he's going to be a major threat and probably win this race. So have it ready to go, but wait to that last minute on Track Phantom, because it's all about how much energy he extends before the race. So guys, that's it, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with us. This has been a long one. I think it's a fun one, though. I think it's a fun Derby, and that makes for making fun predictions here. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. And always remember, if you don't bet, you can't win.